we're going to look at the I and j plane. So we have here a plane that is actually an x and y axis. But when we're dealing with vectors and vectors specifically, the x becomes what's called an I-axis and the y becomes a j-axis. So instead of an xy plane, we have an ij plane. ij plane. And we put vectors on that plane. And like we've seen before, those vectors can be described with their angle as well as their magnitude. So this one is a magnitude or a size of 10, and the angle is 53.1 with the positive sense of the I-axis. We can stretch it out, magnitude and angle or direction there, right? And that works in both right and left and both up and down. So vectors on the ij plane, and let's have a look at the directions that we describe them with first. So we first have north, south, east and west. You're going to have to remember those. And because we need to describe the vectors with magnitude and direction, I'm going to focus on direction first, but for specific directions. Those are the ones at 45 degrees. So the first one has a 45-degree angle there between the slightly pinkish vector and the horizontal line, 45 degrees. We call it the northeast direction. If the vector is in that direction, where the angle is again of 45, it's the northwest direction. We have southwest and southeast. So those are when the angles are always 45 degrees. Northeast and east-north are the same thing, but we normally just put the vertical one first and the horizontal one second. So that's why we have northeast, northwest, southeast and southwest. Okay, those are special cases. Let's have a look now in terms of how to write that though. If the angle is not 45 degrees, so in this case you look at the angle is 26.6 degrees. Now that's a vector, it's a resultant vector, and what I'm going to do is get the two components of it. The two components look like that. Remember, the components, if you put them together, their combined start and end point should be the same as the start and end point of the resultant vector in blue, which is definitely the case in this instance. So the vector that's attached to the start is going to the east first, and then we have the second vector going to the north. And that's how we write the angle then. We describe it as east first, the angle is 26.6, and then the second vector is north. Let's see it again. So a different angle in this case, it's going from the center out, and what we do is we put in our two component vectors like so. Start at the origin or the start point, that vector is going to the left, which is west, and then following on is going from the north. So we'll have west, we put in the angle, and then north. And in this case, the angle between the first red vector and the resultant is 45 degrees. So west, 45 degrees north. Okay, the next one. Look at the two component vectors from the start to the end. It would look like that. The first vector is going west, so we'll have west, then we'll put in the angle, then we'll put in south. And that angle works out as 36.9. And then finally this one. So our components like so. The first component is going to the easterly direction, so we'll have east 37.9 degrees south. And you'll notice as well that the angle in the triangle there is negative. We ignore any negative angles when we display it in this form. Okay, so your turn. Pause the video, have a go off a few of these. I'm going to put up the answers now. The first one will be east 28 north. The second one, now there's a 30-degree angle given there in the top right hand corner. I'm going to look at the 60-degree angle between the x-axis or the y-axis and the vector itself. So I'll have east 60 north. And what you notice is all of these descriptions involve the angle between the y-axis and the vector itself. And actually the acute angle between the y-axis and the vector itself. So if we look at the third one, the 124 isn't the angle we're going to be looking at. It's going to be 180 minus 124, which is 56. So the vectors will go west, 56, north. And the next one, again, looking at the acute angle that the vector makes with the y-axis, that's going to be 51 degrees. So we're going west, 51, north. Okay, so that part is covered. Now for a few things, because the vectors can move and be rearranged, Instead of going horizontally first and then vertically, which is the case for each of these descriptions, we go east or west first, then put the angle, then put north and south. We could actually go north and south first and then go east and west. And I'm going to have a look at that for the second one and the fourth one. So if we start at the origin, I could go north first, then I could rotate 30 degrees to the east. So east 60 north is the same as north, and then 30 degrees rotated to the east. And the bottom one then as well, in the bottom right hand corner, if we look at the 39 degree angle, we could go north and then we'd be rotating 39 degrees to the west. So the alternative way of looking at it is north 39 degrees, and that should be west there, my apologies. All right, so there are two ways of looking at it. I predominantly stay with the first description, and that's having the I component first, followed by the angle, followed by the j. So I angle j. However, sometimes when you're answering questions, they describe the angles and the direction like the green column there: south of west, north of east, south of east, east of north, west of south, or something like that. And how we treat these is we look at the second direction first. So we go for the first one, we go to the west, and then we rotate southwardly. For the second one, we look at the second direction again. We go east first, and then we rotate to the north. The third one, we were going north, and then we're rotating to the east. And then for the last one, south, and then we're rotating to the west. And I show you what I mean here now. So we have drawn a vector 12 meters per second at an angle of 34 degrees south of west. So if we're to draw that, we want to first go in the westerly direction, which is left, and then we're rotating to the south by 34 degrees. So that means we'll be in the third quadrant. And the angle there that we rotated through was angle A, which was 34 degrees. So we went west and then we rotated down through south. Okay, your turn with a few of those questions. Pause the video, see can you write it in that form. Here are the answers. So the first one, we were going east and we're rotating north. So it's 28 degrees north of east. Again, the second direction is the direction we start with in this case, and the north is the one we've rotated it through. Okay, in the next case, two ways of doing it. So either it's 60 degrees north of the easterly direction, or it's 30 degrees east of the northerly direction. The next one is 56 degrees rotation north of the westerly direction, and the last one is that. Now, if you need to ask any questions on it, let me know. I'll be on Edmodo, or you can ask me in person.